So good afternoon, everybody. I'm extremely honored to have this opportunity to share the stage with some of the biggest HR leaders leading some of the largest corporates in the country, right? And what's also interesting is that the topic that we've taken is rethinking the employee deal. So the focus is on people, purpose, and progress. I think the logic as to why this subject came up is because what we realize is that the people and the majority of the workforce of today is very different from the times when most of the leaders of today started our careers, right? People's expectations are different, aspirations are different. India now has a huge upper middle class, so money need not be the only driver, right? So for some of the HR leaders, they have to continue to improvise when it comes to policies and processes in line with the new generation and the new problems that keep occurring, right? And I thought it's a great panel where we can all learn from some of the subject matter experts who have a good proven track record in their respective organizations. I mean, they all represent majorly services organizations, and in a services organization, the organization is experienced through the people, right? The culture, the organization is through people, right? So you get your people equation right, and the organization fires very well in the market, right? So hence, interesting session. I have a few questions for all of them, which are very relevant to each of you, and I'm sure you'll have some great takeaways. So Deepa, there is a lot of talk these days on empathy and our leaders really being empathetic to the people problems and the kind of issues they face at work. So we thought maybe if you can pick that aspect, people strategies, how does that remain, your HR people strategies, how does that remain rooted in empathy? How do you maintain that at the time when the organization is rapidly changing, a lot of expectations, growth, but still remained rooted in empathy, and how do you listen more, and a little bit about that will help us.
It's a topic which is very, very close to my heart. And, when I think about empathy, all organizations these days are running behind valuations, top line, bottom line, the pressures of being a very performance-driven organization, which is really topical, for every boardroom conversation. But when we bring in this theme, it is something which touches the heart. And when we want to embed empathy with culture, the thought which comes to my mind that after the board or the CEO of the company, which is thinking about one organization and one culture, perhaps it's the HR head who takes upon that role to how to weave these values into the organization and bring that one view of organization and one feel of the organization to all its employees, and that's where maybe empathy and culture gets intertwined. Coming to Tata and MG and how does empathy plays its role, I think it's not a choice, it's not a debate, but it's the very purpose of who we are. Again, that's also very fashionable to say when we say purpose and deal and all that. But when our motto itself is to bring care to healthcare, how do you do that? Just by putting some dashboards, just by having some KPIs, just by running after people and putting some goal sheets. It has to be something which is more intrinsic. And when we say that, in a culture, it's smell of the place, it's the feel of the organization, it's how the organization responds, and so on and so forth. I think it's all that mushy stuff. But when I say that it's the very purpose, and before I dwell into how we make that come to life for 1MG, let me give you a short snippet of what's the business landscape for our organization. We are pioneers in digital healthcare solutions, and we were the first ones to bring e-pharmacy, e-diagnostics to the country. On the B2C side, we have our platform where we have 300 million plus visitors every year. We are the #1 healthcare platform in the country where there is maximum healthcare traffic and engagement. We are #1 platform in the world for healthcare engagement. We serve 20,000 PIN codes. So that's the scale and scope from the B2C side. On the diagnostic side, we are present in 60 plus countries. We offer diagnostic services. We have 1,000 phlebotomists who serve you on your vaccination and your testing needs to your homes. More interestingly, we are the only, we have a flagship lab which is CAP certified, or which is, so to say, a gold standard in diagnostic services, which is a global standard in terms of, certifying that it's reliable, it's accurate, it is, the processes and training and skills which are there, the equipment which is there is world class. We also engage with hospitals to serve them. I think the long story short, when I'm laying that landscape for all of you, I think it's just so core that what we do and how we serve our lakhs of customers is not possible unless you have that feeling invoked in the organization. And how we do that, the fountainhead of all of that is actually our culture credo, which says be that or be like that. When we say be like that, it means it's an acronym for be your own CEO. Done is better than perfect. Team before individual, and most important in that element is accountability with empathy. So empathy for us is there in our culture credo, which is for everyone to follow from the heart and walk the talk on. On various talent priorities, we have some of our flagship programs like D1, M2, or delivering your 1 mg more, or walking that extra mile, which is our gold standard internal program on service excellence, which is mandatory for all our frontline. So all our frontline, our phlebotomists, our store staff, everyone is required to go through that D1, M2, in which empathy and these kind of skill building is very core to the nature of that program. Additionally, we also have 1 mg Miles, which is our milestone journey program for developing our managers. Again, there are 4 emotions which also embrace the empathy piece, which is again mandatory for all young managers in the organization to go through. We have Safe at 1 mg, which is again an important piece for staff to follow in terms of road safety, in terms of drug safety, in terms of keeping safe yourself and also for the customers and so on. I think the other piece which is important is our AI.mg initiative, which is nothing but creating a future-ready organization. But that future-ready organization will not be possible, again, unless you keep those 300 million customers who visit you, our 500 odd engineers who build this platform, which takes care of recommendations, suggestions, and the AI and ML related platform to take care of all of this. So that's the landscape of what we do, and maybe I will share more during the course of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. So I'll go to Yuvaraj next. MakeMyTrip, I think, easily the market leader, and a huge organization which keeps raising the standards of service, right? And so what I want to do, while they continue to grow so fast and continue to be one of the largest players, I want to understand from him, how does he balance a people-first culture? How does Yuvaraj manage a people-first culture? Because ultimately, the HR are the culture carriers for the organization, right? I mean, how do you maintain a people-first culture and yet perform and grow at this pace, right? How do you know what matters most to your employees? And at the same time expect them to generate and grow and perform high productivity. How do you balance that as a HR leader?
Thank you, Vishnu, and thanks to Sapphire Human Capital for really inviting for this session. 2-3 questions rolled in one. So let me try to see that how do I really pick up all of those. I think when we talk about people first culture, organizations which have started in the last 25-30 years, if they embraced it as a part of their core value when they started, it's not very difficult for them to really continue with that journey. I'll give an example of MakeMyTrip. MakeMyTrip started business in 2000, 2005. It started in India. 2010 we got listed. And 2010 till 2013, 4 years in a row, This was an organization which was a part of top 10 great places to work in India. Normally what will happen is you will see that when the businesses are growing, there are two functions and two processes which are mostly casualty. One is HR and second is finance. Because the focus is on market share, growth, everything, but these two functions are supposed to be really, tagging along and doing things which can really support the business. And in the garb of doing all that, people focus gets slightly, disoriented. And if that point of time, organization after getting listed could really be in top 10 organizations are great places to work, what it says is that it was always a part of the DNA of the organization that if we have to build a large organization, it has to be built on the values wherein people are first, and that should be the biggest, cog for the growth of the organization, and that's what we continue to really champion. So that is first. After that, it's a different story. I joined the organization in 2014, and 2015. When I went to take the GPTW award, we were not in top 10. So I had to tell people that, I'm not responsible because the survey had happened before I joined. So I think after that, the only thing what I did is that I said that, we should get out of these surveys because it becomes very, very inward-looking process. And you live in the glory of really getting rewards and numbers and the processes. But internally as an organization, you will know where the gaps are. And if you keep getting glory with the help of awards, which are these surveys, I'm not against those surveys, but what happens is your ability to really be mature about the internal process needs to be very, very high. So I think that we moved from there, and we realized that we have been doing better even beyond that. So that is one. So the core has to be very, very strong. Second is, I think as a part of the process, you need to really understand before people come to the organization what they are really looking for. I'll give you an example. I think 2015-16, that was the time when this startup word had really taken off, right? All the big wigs today who are doing extremely well, Snapdeal was also there, Flipkart was there. There was a complete mayhem in the market in terms of talent. All the campuses, people were getting paid obnoxious amount, which was not sustainable, I think as MakeMyTrip, we said that we'll go to the market and continue to offer we normally offer because that is what is sustainable. And we'll hire talent. If it is possible, we'll do it. If it is not possible, we'll not do it. And after that, we started doing what? Every year we do a survey of at least 5,000 students at the campuses. And we try to redefine our employee value proposition every 2 years. And what happens is that you have the same set of people, 5,000 who were in first year. You go through a simple questionnaire, and after 6 months, do the questionnaires again with the same set of students with a 70-60% commonality. You'll understand that have you been able to really move your employee value proposition up the channel or not. So we continue to do this. And this basically threw a very interesting insight. The survey said that the employees value what, or the young employees value what? They need to work with a great set of people in any organization. Because after 18 years, your learning happens by osmosis. It doesn't happen by the classroom training. So if you have a set of great people in the organization, you'll always drive better learning. So this was an insight that, hire the best. I would like to really work with the best of the people. And so that was the first thing what the whole study told to us. Second, what people said, that I want to work on something which can create an impact. And I should be able to see that impact. I should be communicated that impact as an engineer. If I'm being given something to code, I should be able to relate back that how my work has really impacted. So that was second thing what people said. Third, what people said is that they want to work in the organization which allows me to be myself. It should not really be saying that, you need to wear this type of clothes on a weekend or a weekday. This is what the dress code is. This is what the timings are. These are the ways people sit in the organization. These are the cabins for people. So I think what normally people said that, we want to be what we are and we want to get into that sort of an organization. So what I'm trying to drive point is that if you go back to the people whom you want to bring into the organization before they are into the organization, evaluate what they're looking at, and try to bring into their system. So we have a very strong team which really works on employee value proposition. Every year we do this survey and keep tweaking that. Third point on this is, and there's a lot of conversation happens on Gen Z, and I'm one person who hate that discussion, if I can say this from this stage. You know, I think people would really talk about Gen Zs are different. Gen Zs talk differently. They need a different space. They are born and brought up in a different environment. That's fine. And we have 40% people in our organization who will fall into that category.
That's right.
I have done internally in my organization, spoken to at least 200 Gen Zs, what people call. A group of 25, 8 groups dedicated. And what I realized, Vishnu and everyone, that I think there is a different sections of Gen Zs within Gen Zs. And the image of the Gen Zs, which basically walks around in the media, in the conferences, in the panels, in the conversation, is a Gen Zs which are a very minuscule person representing in the metros, in the larger cities, where people are saying that they have provided kids, they want to really work 3 days, 2 days, 4 days, 5 days. But there are kids who are in Indore, they are in Banaras, they are in Jalandhar, they are in Tiruchirappalli. They still come from a similar background. So, and our whole approach about that change, and in my organization, I at least drive that there should not be a conversation around there is a difference in generation. It's important for both generations to learn from each other and figure out what best it is. And if we need to build an organization, and if they are different, I think we need to build an organization which is good for them, not for the people on the downhill, people who are beyond 45 or 50. The organizations have to be built according to them. So the future of work has to come from them. So I think keeping in touch with people, doing these discussions and being very, very alive to this basically ensure that you are people-centric and it has to be a part of the DNA. So that's some of the examples of what we have done. Yeah,
I think what you're also saying is that you can build a culture which over-encompasses across all the generations, and that's a thing which is very possible. You don't need to differentiate. Yeah, interesting. Also, I think it was very nice the way you covered the fact that money is not the only criteria, and those 3-4 points that you said, why people still join you looking at the EVP and many other things, because preference today is a lot more than just money. It's about, so I think that's a very interesting insight, Yuvaraj. We'll move to the third speaker, which is Simar. So Simar, your question is, I mean, there's a lot of talk on this coming up these days, so, it's a very delicate subject, right? We talk about burnout, and burnout has become such a significant concern in many workplaces, right? And different companies deal with it differently. So, in specific to Max, what are the initiatives you have implemented to address employee burnout, and how do you promote an overall culture of well-being, where especially employee burnout is taken care of? Because a lot of organizations get a lot of negative publicity sometimes, a toxic work culture and all of that because of the number pressure and valuation in the market and things like that. So how do you balance that?
Namaste, everyone. Before I answer that question, let me talk a little about my organization to set the context. So at Max India and at Antara, we are a senior care organization. And under the senior care, what it means really is we run residences for seniors to take care of healthy seniors. We have care homes for seniors in various categories. So care homes are for assisted living, care homes are for transition care homes are also for neurocognitive, memory care kind of issues. So different kinds of care homes. And then we also have various products for our seniors, right? So if seniors are dealing with joint health issues, lung care, fall prevention, etc., right? So parts of our businesses are very real estate, hospitality kind of oriented, and parts of our businesses are very product oriented. In totality, we are a senior care company, which is at the crux of it. If I start talking about our value system, our culture, one of our values is Seva Bhav. It's a Hindi word, which really means going above and beyond. Seva means taking care of somebody, right? So when we talk about burnout, let me share a story. I mean, we all remember COVID days, yeah? Now imagine a senior care community, one of our brimming communities, which is in Dehradun, had around 200 plus seniors, and these seniors were almost as the age group of our parents or our grandparents, right? Would you believe if I tell you that our community in Dehradun was COVID-free for the entire 2 years, right? And it will be very hard to imagine how did that really happen, because all of us sitting in this room today, everybody, one parent or one sibling or yourself, somebody would have contacted COVID, right? The community which had 200 plus seniors and equally 200 plus team members in that community, nobody contacted COVID, right? How did that happen? Is because the entire set of our team members, whether they were in resident services, they were in our cuisine services, whatever function that they did, they all stayed back inside the community for almost a period of first 8 months, which was the worst wave during that time. So when we talk about burnout, right? Burnout for us at Antara has very different meaning. A large part of our workforce deals with seniors either in residences or in care homes, right? Burnout for us means that a Gen Z, as Yuvaraj just said, right? A young 24-year-old who's in clinical services taking care of a senior who's 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old. What is the emotional resilience that person has when that person is delivering a 12-hour kind of a care to that senior, right? Burnout is, or could also be defined for us in a D2C business that we run, which is our products business, where product engineers, our category managers are really trying to get traffic onto our D2C platform to really help seniors in terms of the products that they would need and sell those products across 200 plus cities in the country, right? So as an organization, when I talk about Seva Bhav being at the core fabric, right? Whether we talk about our hiring processes, whether we talk about our transformation processes, which means how do we make people more resilient, emotionally more strong, physically healthy, to really take care of the ecosystem that we are in, I think everything has an inbuilt of wellness into the fabric, yeah? Internally, we really talk about this story, right? We've all watched Mahabharata, right? When the war started, Arjun was very confused, yeah? We all remember seeing that scene, watching Mahabharata, right? He had dropped his bow. He said, I don't want to fight this war because I'm fighting this war against my gurus. I'm fighting this war against my cousins. That was burnout, right? That's another definition of burnout. What did Krishna do at that point in time? Krishna really just stood by him. He shared with him the deeper meaning and the purpose behind the war. So I think for us at Antara, we deal with burnout issues by embedding deeper purpose in work, which means multiple sessions happen with all kinds of generations, right? We have Gen Z, we have Gen X, we have millennials, we have baby boomers. The entire segment is there, right? Each segment for us, we believe, has a very, very different purpose and need. A Gen Z who joins us, almost 30 to 40% of my workforce is Gen Z, right? A Gen Z who joins us is really looking at, can I make a deeper impact? Do I know where this organization is heading towards? What is the purpose that I will bring in? How will my role impact the growth of the organization? So we deal and we have programs designed for Gen Z separately. For baby boomers, there are people who are 60 years above. We don't retire people at the age of 60. We are a senior care company. We believe seniors can contribute. We have almost 10 to 12% of our population, which is 65, 70, still working with us, right? For them, maybe their way of looking at wellness, our internal research shows, is when they contribute back, when they give back to the youngsters. So we run a series of reverse mentoring programs where seniors are coaching and mentoring the juniors, right, who come in the organization. We keep talking about AI, right? Now, a lot of Gen X and baby boomers are not very, very comfortable using AI, right? That's where we use reverse mentoring to look at youngsters really teaching the seniors on how do you use tools for effectiveness and efficiency, right? Another very interesting perspective I'll share. Yeah, because when we talk about taking care of seniors, the entire workforce which is available in the market, right, from an economic standpoint, there are multiple hospitals, right? So a lot of our workforce comes from various hospitals. But most hospitals train their doctors, their nurses, their caregivers on treating patients. No hospital really talks about how do you treat a senior? How do you take care of their emotional needs? How do you take care of their mental needs? How do you even take care of their physical needs? Simple example. Today, if I have to give a blood sample, right, any phlebo can come and take my blood sample. Imagine your parents or your grandparents giving a blood sample. How do you ensure within a single prick the blood sample can be taken? So we invest a lot in terms of training, skilling our workforce so that they don't face the burnout. The burnout could happen, एक फ्लेबो जाता है, वो 4 बारी prick करेगा, उसको अगर patient कुछ बोलेगा, that's the immediate burnout that can happen then and there, right? Wow. So really working with Government of India, we've developed programs to really train our frontline caregiving workforce on senior care concepts. And those were some of the initiatives that I can really talk about.
I think for a healthcare company, this question on burnout was quite an easy question for you. So maybe I'll ask an out-of-syllabus question to Yuvaraj. In a company like yours, on the burnout. In a company like yours, when business managers, or anybody actually, or anybody, right? Anybody who runs a corporate.
We have taken 20 minutes.
I know. So anybody who runs a high-pressure environment, corporate with targets, right? How do you deal with burnout when your managers come to you and say, so-and-so wants a wellness break, put them on bench, move them to another team, right? Do you push back to the manager? And burnout can be conceived, it can be anything, right? It can be true, it need not be true. What do you do to such employees and how do you push back to the managers?
I think to my mind, there are two things that are very profound in an organization. One is the culture of trust. And the second is what Simar has already talked about, which is the purpose. I think the two things really blend really well when you're dealing with burnout, typically. That's the Uber picture with which you sort of really look at your organization, which is people first, if you really had to look at it from that lens. And let me take the example of the current organization or any organization that I've been with. And luckily, I've been with organizations that we have built the culture of trust over a period of time. And it has really got embedded really well. But what it does is that if you have a culture of trust and the purpose is extremely high, for example, today I'm with FinCorp. What is the real purpose? It's a 60,000 crore AUM company. It has over 4,000 touch points. It has over 12 million customers. Well, it's in the mid segment to an upper segment NBFC, great. But what does that really mean? At the end of the day, it is the lender of the aspiring Bharat. Okay? So now there's a purpose in your head that what are you actually doing? You are actually the purpose that is helping someone aspire to become better or live better. That's one. The second is, even if you look at the logo of FinCorp, you'd look at there are these two pillars that are made like that. It actually connotes the windows of opportunity. And that actually builds a sense of belongingness in the organization that helps people understand this organization gives me a window of opportunities. All right, so that really builds the connection with the organization. And then you actually have several practices that you would do which have to really come out in action that build the trust between the manager and the team member. And if there is an issue, there is a chemistry between the two that says, you take a break, I'll ease you out. Or if there is excessive work happening, there is a connection between the two that makes it happen. If there's also a very high pressure on improving performance, how do you really make it happen? And over a period of time, there are learnings that organizations will go through. You will make several mistakes. No one is perfect. And I was thinking in my head that where does an organization really learn? But there was a statement that was made by a very veteran cricketer. I don't know how many of you know Kumar Sangakkara. And he was training Yashasvi Jaiswal, and he said, you have to go there on the pitch and you have to keep doing things again and again. And he says, you can be excellent, but you can never be perfect, right? Because you'll have to do the things again and again. And so we'll keep learning through a lot of things that we'll do. But at the end of the day, what we've done is that if you're not performing, you go into a power-up program, let's say.
Got you.
There's a lot of hand-holding that's given. There's support that's given. You don't do, then you go into a development program, okay? So there's a journey, there's support, there's mechanism provided, there's everything provided. So people don't feel that I've been, left out and, in the dry. And there's no support around me. The manager doesn't trust me, or I've not been given that level of hand-holding for performance, and also for my personal needs. There are systems, policies that have been created, but it's a chemistry that I build with the manager. If the manager is supporting enough, then things will work out.
No, Puja, it may be working for some of your organizations well, where you have a strong HR system, leaders, policies. But people like us in EY, people consulting, we get a lot of work because it's not that easy in many organizations, right? A lot of organizations struggle, to help all of this trickle down, right? Help the EVP trickle down. How the entire employee experience, right from an interview stage to how much is trickling down between HR and business, right? So there are challenges, I'm saying. I'm not saying that I've come across many where it's not that easy, There are challenges where business expectations are way beyond what HR expects, right? And how do we draw that line?
You're absolutely right. And that's where I think learning makes a huge difference. I think organizations will make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. And that is the beauty of an organization that will learn through its own cycle of mistakes. Yeah. And we're absolutely fine. Like I said, we're not perfect. I guarantee sitting here, none of our organizations have any perfect performance management system. But we still thrive because we want to get there at some point in time where we build fairness, we build transparency, we build a system where people feel comfortable with the outcomes that we create for an organization.
That's how important this role is.
That's a stage which will continuously evolve, like what Yuvaraj mentioned. Every time you go with the same set of questions, you may see the needle move to a different set. Yeah. Or the question answer may change. And that's exactly how evolution will keep happening, but we'll have to keep adjusting to that.
No, very interesting perspectives, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what you're saying in their own organizations, and they may have questions as well. But I'll another quick question for you before I move to the last two gentlemen who are getting bored. So for you, it's more about one of the bigger reasons people join organizations and stay is also because of the continuous learning and the upskilling and them becoming a better professional. So it's not just, it's how do they increase their net worth as a professional in this world, right? What else is the company giving them? So when it comes to a continuous learning environment, career development, because I've heard a very interesting statement that people development is equal to business development. If you develop your people well, business will come in, right? So how does that play a big role in your culture?
I think it's massive because I think we are largely a people-led organization. Our entire asset building is through people. So there's no way you can't develop people or you can't invest in people. But I think you have to structurize some bit of it to be able to say how you're really going to do it. So largely I think if we really had to sort of simplify it in language, there are, I usually start with the philosophy that probably sits well with people, that will help people understand why you do something for an organization and what is it going to give you. So the why behind that is you have to train people so well so that people really want to leave you and do better things in life, right? And the other perspective of it is that you have to treat people so well that they don't ever want to leave you. So there is this paradox, but at the same time, what you really want to do is you want to give these two experiences so beautifully in the organization so that it hooks the organization to continuously grow. Now, how do you translate that into a strategy is the real motive over here. And so I'll blend my previous life experience of different companies and the current place because I'm just quite relatively a year plus over here. But what you can largely do is, what we've done is, you create personas of roles because I think what people really look for is clarity in career. What they look for is what is the way in which I grow. Currently in here of FinCorp, let's say that 60 to 65% of our population that works for us, works across, let's say, the rural India. And the rest would be split between metros. Which means that there's a lot of learning that can happen in metros, which is quick and fast. But you have to invest a lot in the rural areas where they have to do equally well and compete with the same population because they're all at the same levels and the same roles. So how do you really make that equality happen of tools, techniques, learnings, and everything? So you create the personas for role clarity. And everybody is on the level playing field. You create digital journeys or you create role career framework journeys that help people understand how they're going to progress through different career stages. What are, let's say, promotion differentiators for them? What are progression differentiators for them? If that career framework really comes out very clearly and it is published somewhere, that role clarity is paramount for people. Because most places where we struggle is lack of transparency on why someone really moved up and why I did not.
Yeah, correct.
Right? And that why is never answered. But if that why can be answered to someone, I think it becomes easier for people to understand that this place where I was performing, I did not really know that I had to do this. So one thing that we tried to do at Hero FinCorp, we've created some 18 unique roles which are at level 1 and level 2. Which is entry, and L1 is called a day in a life of excellence playbook. We've created that and we've published that for everybody. That these are the steps you have to follow for excellence execution in your career. You do that in your role, you are going to be a high performer. You're going to be able to achieve your targets. You do that, this is your absolute objectivity. And then there are, the winning mindset of the company and everything that we sort of publish. But people need to know what is my excellence playbook? What is my role? What is the clarity of my role? So you push that. And then you use your tools and mechanisms that probably give the career framework clarity. And you create career journeys for them inside the academy that you can create, which can provide them that clarity of growth. Yeah. That probably will help. We're also sort of battling with one challenge, which I'm not sure all of us can ever solve for, but there will be a moment in time in every organization where organization will not have so many roles to promote for. There will be certain level of stagnation in roles. And so horizontally, we will have to grow people versus only vertically. And so internal mobility becomes a very important element. And then how you create that in your goals of an organization, that we have to ensure there's internal mobility. To create internal mobility, you have to invest in tools and techniques, either secondment techniques or learning techniques that people not only learn about their roles, but they also invest in learning about another skill set that will help them learn there. Future proofing is, because we were creating digital natives, we're creating AI natives now. So let's say not only the topmost layer is trained on mindset change and let's say prompt engineering and XYZ, but even the entry level or the L1 level, L2 level is also trained on the same thing. Sure. So you create AI natives across. So you're doing all of those things to help create a mechanism. Sorry, I took a bit more.
No, that's okay. It's very interesting. Right. So I'll start with Nitin. Right. Nitin, since we are focusing on people at the core today, right, and how HR leaders of today are addressing that, one of the biggest things that's come up is, are we hiring people whose purpose in life aligns with what the organization stands for, right? So we believe that professional progression happens when people relate, well, their own vision and their own purpose in life aligns with that of the organization, right? And you see a lot of that. Do people look for that before they join an organization? Because, gone are the days of work-life balance, right? Today, people talk about work-life integration. I mean, for them, people want to enjoy work as much as they enjoy their free time. It's just an extension. It's not that I cut off now and then, So if the purpose aligns, so how do you manage that? I mean, how do you manage purpose alignment?
Okay, so interestingly, I have worked with the companies which have 25,000 manpower, and last 3 years with the startup companies. Very important is the organization way of thinking and putting up the things to the world. right? Internal world and the external world both. That's very important. Is your vision is depending on the some high-tech words or it has a real meaning into it? If purpose of the organization is just for the investors, not for your own purpose-driven organization for the future to build, and that's where the progress happens. We love to talk about contracts, that's the appointment letter and the offer letters, and then we find to tune in to the connections and the belongingness, which can't be done. We are living in the country where we have unions, and many of us feel pride to talk about LTS, where we have a minimum wage bill also, and the act also, payment of wages act also. So, very important for an HR, forget about HR, as a professional leader, today there is no HR actually in the organization exists. For me, it is not there for last 15 years. I'm the people person. First, I'm an employee. Sometimes I represent board. Sometimes I represent management work committee. Sometimes I represent my workers committee. Sometimes I represent my dealers network. Sometimes I represent my vendors network. Sometimes I represent the finance company. Sometimes I represent my exchange. That's the way you have to represent. And when you are representing that, you need to understand that business. HR, there is no HR policy. There is a people policy, right? Now, in the morning, I was listening Mr. Gurnani, right? He talks about that whatever we do, it is for the customers. Who is going to use Boeing? Who is using my three-wheeler? That may be the B2B customer, that may be the B2C customers, that the innovation happen. What kind of a pain he is finding out? How my service team is working on it? What my quality team is working on it? What my R&D team is working on? IoT putting up. When you have an IoT on the each and every vehicle, that input has to be shared with each and everyone. If my service is working on something as a firefighter, I'm actually spending more cost on it. But if my R&D is not working on the same parameters, I will be coming up with the same kind of problems in the future too. Correct. Are you eyeing for a real progress? Progress means that business has to progress. Today you may be serving for the B2B clients. Tomorrow you come up with the B2C. Today you are into the one segment. Are you expanding to the another segment or not? Another market or not? If not, then you're killing yourself. As Yuvaraj said that we can't pay much sustainable. If my product is of the 4 lakh rupees, I can't afford the salaries of 40 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
I need people, I need to invest in technology, and sometimes we talk about more of the technology advancement, where we need to put that kind of money in the technology investment in the organization. That's where your role comes in. I don't need HR advancement right now. I may be looking into somewhere which will be catering my end consumer. So there I need to put it on more money, where I need to put it on more people to understand that technology, that kind of a development has to that. So I think very important for us to understand that what world demands from us, what organizations need to do to cater that demand.
Correct.
And how the individual aspirations can be roped in to meet those kind of demands and needs.
I agree. I think if individual aspirations align, that's when people become more passionate at what they do and they enjoy what they do, right? So
I may tell you that we have launched in this Auto Expo, we have launched 1 ton and 7 ton also. We are coming up with the new plant in Middle East. We are eyeing on the Africa market. We are coming up with the 1 ton, 7 ton. Now 1 ton or the 7 ton or the 13 ton product, where you need to invest, it holds at the what is the government policies, what are the numbers, As an HR, I know that number. What kind of a value addition I'm creating, that's very important. Now, I don't know that how much you understand the transport business or the truck market. We need to see that where we are getting the 9.6 subsidy or the 7.3 subsidy. And accordingly, I need to invest in my company's product portfolio. That's the where HR needs to, or any leader has to be say. Why not the shop floor people should know about what is the EBITDA margins for my processes. We need to teach people that what is the EBITDA margin for the process which you are doing it. If my service guy is going somewhere, where I need to put that service guy? Is the technician and the engineer? Which area? How much population of my vehicles are there? How you can control the cost? There you build the progress.
No, I agree. I think the ownership is a lot more when you have everybody, all hands involved and transparently. So the last question is to Kalpesh. So Kalpesh is the Deputy CEO of Bajaj Capital, and all of you know Bajaj Capital. So, and obviously, I mean, this is an industry which is evolving very quickly, right? The technology has come in, platforms have changed. So my question to him is that how does he develop, how does he prepare people for the future of work? You know, as a leader, how do you prepare people for the future of work in terms of, it can be AI, it can be new technology, and how do you still want them to stay focused on their values and culture? See, it's very different. Sometimes, you know, an organization runs on a particular value and culture, right? And then you have a lot of future skills and future technologies that come right now, which is important for you to move to the next level. So how do you manage to upskill people on future
Thanks,
technology
Vishnu,
skills?
for the question, and it's been a lovely panel. We had a pretty good interaction behind the scenes, I would like to say. So I've been asked this question, and prior to this, there was a panel wherein one of my colleagues was here. And I've been asked this question that you being the deputy CEO and the business side, why do you want to be in the CHRO panel? And I was given some other option also. So I told them that, and I'll give humbly, let me say this. When I started my banking career, I did a course from Indian Institute of Banking Finance. When I got into portfolio management, I did a course from IIM Ahmedabad. When I got into international business, I did an executive MBA from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. When I wanted to do a CEO program, I did a course from the CEO program course of Oxford. So if you are into Rethink HR, you need to be in a panel which is of CHROs, is what comes to my mind. So that's why I'm here. Second part I really liked about the fact that most of the CHROs here have been talking about their business aspects, which wasn't the case about 8-10 years ago. Yeah. So it's pretty nice to see this this change, and this is pretty good change. However, I love the fact that Simran actually pointed in a parallel world analysis of CHROs being Lord Krishna and CEOs being Arjunas, trying to face the world, and they're trying to help us. So it's really nice. The analogies have been good. The insights have been pretty nice. When we talk about future of work, let me come to the question now. See, a lot has been spoken about Gen Zs, and a lot has been spoken about AI.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've been to like almost 60 summits in the last 2 years. Almost every summit has spoken about AI. And I think it's more spoken a lot. But let me again say just a subtle word, that AI is not going to replace anybody. AI is going to, people who know AI is going to replace people who don't know AI. It's as simple as that. So I think AI is more of an assisted learning than anything else. Just like a co-pilot or an autopilot, when they came in, the pilots were not replaced. So I think AI is going to definitely benefit everyone, and we are also using AI. Almost everybody is using AI. Last 1 year, I've not seen a single presentation come to me which is not made by AI. So I'm really seeing, live examples of AI being used. While we are at it, I think we need to see the trends in the market. So let me talk about just my industry. Let's say wealth management. So about 23, 24 years ago, when we all started our career, we used to see people who were more of product pushers, rather pushing sales and businesses, for that matter. They were replaced by people like us who were engineers, who knew risk analysis a little better. So we were able to talk about risk and operations, and that is going to continue for another 4-5 years. But the future, I think, is people who understand consumer behaviors are the people who are going to replace this fact. And behaviors in general also, which is again for internal as well as consumers. And you can see that in the trends, like last 20 years, if you see Nobel Prize winners in the field of economy, you'll find all of them who have actually done some human behavior aspects and not actually come up with some new formulas. So you can see all these aspects turning around. The trends are right there. And out here also, a lot of surveys have been spoken about, from Culture Monkey to Edelman to take anyone. You'll get to know a couple of pointers about values, how to deal with Generation Z. But I feel when we talk about future generation, one, obviously it is more automated. Whatever can be automated will be automated, and will consolidate and then again grow, is what I feel like. Second is the new generation is very, very smart. Like we were a little smart for the earlier generation, probably, I would like to believe. The earlier generation would disagree with that. So I'll give you an example, like when I was in probably 5th or 6th standard. My dad actually, he was a mechanic, so his hand was pretty strong. So he just had a tap on my shoulder when he saw my handwriting. And he said that, boss, if you write like this, I doubt whether you're learning or not. And within a year, I think I was interstate competition for both Hindi and English handwriting competitions. So, and I tried to do something similar, very nice, jovial self with my niece about 20 years ago. I said, your handwriting is really bad. And she's like, surgeons are the most paid, doctors and the surgeons. I'm aiming for that. So the new generation is smarter, well equipped, and I think when we speak to them, and I actually ensure that at least, Freaky Fridays or Finance Fridays and Tech Tuesdays, we all do that. But when you at least have those direct interactions with them, you get to know a lot more about them. So the new generation needs a different analysis. I think if today in the world of AI, we are still talking about or still analyzing people with bell curve, for example, we are actually not progressing. Yeah. The people who actually invented bell curves have actually let go of it, and we are still using it. So I think development starts from the way we are analyzing them. Burnouts, again, is another most spoken about topic, but I think burnouts are different for different people. Yeah. You cannot have a parameter fixed for everybody. Oh, this is where the burnout happens. This is where the stress level increases. So you got to have more communication. My HR actually, who was dealing with the wealth side, also manages a couple of clients. They have interactions every month with a couple of clients to understand what is happening on ground. And is actually, there is a business pressure, or the clients are not giving business and all. So there are a couple of other things that we are trying to do. And an organization where we have about 5,800 employees, and most of them, more than 40%, have been with the company for more than 25 years. So, and then you have a new generation coming in. So policies that have to be implemented across are very different. The tech enablers and the way you're doing the learnings for them have to be very different. So I think it's a very challenging time for the CHROs, and I would not take that away. It is very, very challenging. And with all the merger acquisitions and valuation stories also happening, it is going to be even tougher. But as you always say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So this is very interesting time, and I think CHROs are doing a wonderful job.
I think in the next 5-10 years, extremely important because of the role AI is playing in your day-to-day work, right? And as you rightfully said, it's not going to replace jobs. Everybody needs to merge into using AI as a part of their day-to-day thing, right? And we at EY also champion the AI cause a lot, helping organizations. So like for example, just a small thing, right? In EY, for example, we have a bot, it just comes up, just a click of a button at the end of our desktops, right, and our laptops, right? And you ask it any question on HR policies or anything, right? Initially, you have to go open that Word document and look, leaves, kitna hai, is level ke liye kitna leaves hai. Then you have a bot which comes, you ask it and it gives you the answer. That's it, just one click, right? You don't have to go search for policy documents. That bot is going to tell you. You ask anything. You ask for how many holidays this year, when is the next chutti, what is the paternity leave. It will tell you exactly, right? So do any of you, have any aspect of AI built into your HR processes, maybe other than what he already spoke, any aspect of HR in your onboarding, in your hiring, where you see because of that it's making life easier for people, like how I just told you, right? I mean, HR policies, for me, that bot makes it very easy.
Many of
Yeah,
Yeah.
many of them.
I'm keeping my answer short in many of the processes.
AI?
Right now, it's already warned me, so I'm sitting.
Yeah.
No, I think that, employee engagement, besides that, at least hiring processes can be done very, very easily. We have been
Interviewing
using
bot interviews?
Bot interviews, we are doing it for the campuses, at least to do the initial shortlist.
Lovely.
And I think that, at a base level wherein everybody can really start drafting right proposals,
Yeah.
start writing good mails, start understanding data better. I think that's the base level wherein most of the people would be doing. But the effort is to really look at where all it can be used. And we have told in our team that create a list of areas which are pain points for us. If it's a dashboard, everyday report, or creating monthly reports on the performance, can we really create a list of it, then go to the specialist and say, these are our problems, tell us how to solve it through AI. So many of those have got solved, some are still in the process, that's all.
Perfect.
If I may
You wanna-
just
yeah,
add,
yeah.
so I'm not specifically focusing on the various AI solutions which we use in our people processes, but more on the AI culture in the organization, which I referred to briefly earlier in my talk, which is AI.mg is our flagship program. So it is not just about, in HR processes, of course. We are a digital tech healthcare firm, so that way is, it's ingrained in the DNA of the organization. But as part of this AI.mg, it's a great partnership between HR and the CDO, or the Chief Data Officer of the organization, wherein we are looking at AI for all and various other, different courses, so that the future readiness of the organization as far as AI is concerned happens in a more structured and in a more focused manner. So that's the endeavor that we are on.
Thank you, everybody. I think one of the best panel discussions I've had. A very vast range of topics impacting people in today's world has been covered beautifully.